Imagine an alternative universe where Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, was trained by his own father, the Force. From an early age, Anakin was surrounded by mysteries, from his inexplicable conception to the unusual intensity of his power. The traditional story shows Anakin being trained by Jedi Masters, powerful beings, but limited by the traditional view of the Jedi Order. But what if Anakin had been guided directly by the essence that created him? What would that have meant for him, and how would it have shaped his destiny and the future of the galaxy? In this scenario, Anakin would have grown up with a much deeper and more direct understanding of the Force. From a young age, he would have learned to feel the Force more intimately, perceiving it not just as an energy to be manipulated, but as an extension of his own existence. Unlike the traditional teachings of the Jedi, who often repressed their emotions, Anakin would have been encouraged to understand and harmonize his emotions with the Force, learning not to suppress his feelings, but to transform them into a positive and balanced energy. The Jedi Council, in recognizing Anakin Skywalker's unique potential, would face an unprecedented dilemma. If he really was the Chosen One, prophesied to bring balance to the Force, then his formation would need to be handled with extreme care. Initially, there would be hesitation in accepting him, especially because of Yoda's fears of the darkness he would sense in the young man. However, when considering the possibility of Anakin being the Chosen One, the Council decided that he should be trained under exceptional guidance. It was then that Yoda, the wisest and most experienced of the Jedi, would be chosen to teach Anakin the ways of the Force. Yoda would understand that Anakin needed a different kind of training, one that went beyond what traditional Jedi received. He would know that the training could not follow conventional methods, because Anakin would have a unique connection with the Force, a connection that would go beyond what any Jedi had ever experienced. The Council, aware of this uniqueness, would authorize Yoda to teach Anakin in a more intuitive way, allowing the Force itself to guide the learning process at crucial moments. Instead of just following Jedi dogma, Yoda would allow Anakin to explore the Force in a more personal and direct way. As Anakin's training progressed, Yoda noticed that the young man possessed a natural ability to connect with the Force in an almost instinctive way. Recognizing this, Yoda would begin to adapt his lessons, encouraging Anakin to trust his feelings and the subtle guidance of the Force. This approach, although risky in the eyes of some members of the Council, would be seen as essential if Anakin was to reach his full potential without being limited by rigid Jedi traditions. The idea would be that, at a certain point, Anakin would be so aligned with the Force that it would guide him directly in his future steps. This training, which would balance Yoda's teachings with the inherent wisdom of the Force, would be designed to culminate in a moment when Anakin transcended the need for any master. Yoda believed that when this point was reached, Anakin would be able to hear the Force purely, without external interference. The expectation was that, by allowing the Force to be his true guide, Anakin would become the Jedi who would bring about the long-awaited balance, fulfilling the prophecy in a way that no other could. One of Anakin's greatest challenges in the original timeline was his internal struggle between love and duty, between the fear of loss and the desire for power. If the Force had been his direct guide, it would have taught him to see love as a natural and powerful manifestation of his connection to everything around him, rather than a weakness to be overcome. The Force would have instructed him to channel his fears and insecurities, not to accumulate power, but to find true inner peace. This peace, anchored in acceptance and balance, would have been the key to preventing his downfall. Throughout his training, Anakin would have learned to use all aspects of the Force, both the brightest and the darkest, without being consumed by them. Under the guidance of the Force, he would have explored the depths of the dark side, not as a path to absolute power, but as an essential part of the cosmic balance. The duality of the Force, light and shadow, would have been harmoniously integrated into his personality, allowing him to use his full potential without falling into corruption. In addition, the Force would have taught him the true nature of power. Instead of seeing power as control or domination, Anakin would have understood that true power lies in wisdom and compassion. He would have learned that the role of a strong being in the Force is not to rule, but to serve as a guardian and protector of those who cannot protect themselves. With this, he would have become a leader who would inspire by example, not by fear, guiding the galaxy with a firm but gentle hand. This direct connection with the Force would have shaped Anakin into a completely different Jedi, perhaps one who transcended the limitations of both the Jedi and the Sith. He would no longer be just a warrior or a leader, but a true avatar of the Force, capable of uniting the galaxy rather than dividing it. His teachings, passed on to future generations, would have created a new era of peace and understanding, where the Force would not be seen as a tool of power, but as a path to true enlightenment and unity. If Anakin had been trained by his own father, the Force, he would have become more than the Chosen One. He would have been the living embodiment of balance, a beacon of hope in a galaxy too often dominated by darkness. This narrative leads us to reflect on how our connection with what lies beyond us can shape our destiny, and on the importance of not just following established paths, but of seeking a deeper and more personal understanding of the forces that govern our lives.